Hey, what's up, man? It's Desmond the Predator Green. Subscribe to DNC Digital.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy D from DNC Digital. My guest today is Desmond Green. Desmond Green is a former UFC fighter from the light heavyweight division with a record of 23 wins and 8 losses and 6 knockouts. Desmond, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
What's up, bro? What's up? Hey, and I
How's
just
everything?
gotta correct you one time. I know it
Go
says it
ahead.
online, but I'm actually 23-7-1 because one of my losses got turned to a no contest because the guy
Got it.
got caught on steroids.
Mm.
One of the Russian guys, I forget his name, but yeah. So
Okay, yeah. So no, we're not gonna get that 8th loss in. That's a draw. That's a no
yeah,
contest. That's okay.
23-7-1. And I
But
beat him
6
anyway,
knockouts though.
but we're in Russia and they gave him the decision. They gave the Russian the decision. You know how that goes, bro. It's
Oh
hard
yeah,
fighting out the
I watched
country.
Rocky 4. I know how they love their Russians.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So how you doing today? By the way, happy belated birthday. What did you do yesterday? Yesterday, as we're recording, was your birthday. What'd you do? You had the kids and then you went out. What happened?
No, bro. I wish I could have went out, but right now, I'm kind of on a house restriction. So I just kicked it at home. I had my son with me. My son and my girlfriend, we just chilled here. They cooked me a nice dinner, nice breakfast, and I just vibed out, watched some TV. Just enjoyed the little things. I'm 32. I done did everything under the sun. So and now I just like to relax, man. I'm a homebody.
Yeah, they say your 20s is where you find out what you don't want, and when you hit 30, that's when you start to actually live
Yeah,
life.
and 100%. And like I said, I done did everything under the sun. So now I'm just all about relaxing.
So when it comes to your children, if they want to follow in the family business, what do you think would be one thing that you would warn them about this industry if they decide to get in the cage?
Um, Really, I would just want them that and I got 2 sons and 2 daughters. I actually
Got
want my sons to fight. A lot of people are like, what you want and why would you want? I love it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm a gladiator, and the advice I'm gonna give them is, if you want to do this, you got to have thick skin. You can't don't let your highs get you too high, and don't let your lows get you too low. As long as you follow that path, you're good to go. Everybody loses, everybody wins. So you just gotta keep humble and always be optimistic. Glass always half full, never half empty.
That's awesome. So you come by the way of Rochester, Rush Henrietta High School, where you were a
Yep.
state champion on the wrestling team. What was it when you did freestyle wrestling that prepared you for mixed martial arts?
Um, Really the grind. You know what I mean? The grind. There's no other grind like you get in wrestling. Like, it's literally a full body workout. You know what I mean? Like you're exhausting every muscle, every bone in your body. And more than anything, I played football, lacrosse, basketball, a bunch of sports, but nothing mimics that one-on-one grind like wrestling and fighting. When you're out there on those other team sports, you got your teammates to lean on and everything. But when you're out there wrestling, it's just you and this other guy and a ref. Very similar to fighting. I always tell people wrestling is like fighting without having to use your hands. You know what I mean? You're limited. So when I was able to transition into fighting, it's like, okay, now I can wrestle, but I could also get the punch, kick, elbow, use more of my tools. So just that one-on-one grind, it really helped me transition into fighting.
So I'm interested because you were in organized sports and everything, and you transitioned into mixed martial arts. There was a kind of catalyst event that made you decide to go into the UFC. Can you tell me about watching those VHS tapes of UFC and tell me what gravitated you toward mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I remember, bro. I remember like it was yesterday. I was in my yard, and one of my neighbors came over, and they're like, yo, we got these UFC tapes. You want to watch it? And I didn't even know what UFC was about. And I'm like, ah, yeah, cool. Like, what's good? They're like, it's Ultimate Fighting Championships. So I was a big into WWF, WWE. So I'm thinking of something like that. Then he popped that tape in, and I'm seeing dudes like just full on throw down. You know what I mean? Bloodied and all. You can tell it's not scripted. And I'm like, yo, like they get paid to do this? And like, yeah, I'm like, yo. And I remember I was like probably like 15, 14. And I'm like, yo, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, I'm like, yo, you telling me I get paid to fight somebody? Like, I get paid to train, be in the best shape of my life, and then go fight people. Like, you know, I've always been a fan of like just the gladiator lifestyle. So I'm like, yo, this is like modern day gladiator shit. I'm like, and you telling me like this is a sport? Like, yeah, it's like the most up and coming sport. And then with me being a wrestler, I've wrestled since I was a kid, and I've gotten into numerous street fights, numerous fights with my cousins. You know what I mean? Very rarely did I ever come out on bottom. So I'm like, yo, I got pretty good skill, and especially if I start training for it, you know, I'm already ahead of the game because I know how to wrestle. And like, you know, 90% of the fights, even now, they end up on the ground. If you want to do, you can end it up, you can take it to the ground. So, you know, watching those tapes and realizing that that was a sport and like that, you know, that was a thing. I was like, man, this is what I want to do. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna take this wrestling as far as I can, home in on my skills, and then when I get done, I'm gonna go to fighting.
That's awesome. So one thing that you and I both have in common, we both have older brothers. We both have older brothers that kind of put us into shit and kind of like just like using us as pawns to play in their own little game. Can you tell me why the phrase "I like your Jordans" is totally different when it comes to you?
Oh man, yo, you did your research, bro. That was the first fight I ever got in. We were at the park, and my brother, he told me, he said, "Hey," and I was so naive. I was young.
Of course, we're younger
I don't even
brothers. We
know.
just do what they say. That's
Yeah, you
pretty
know
much
what I
it.
mean? My brother's like, hey, listen, go over there and tell that guy you like his Jordans. Now he had on these Jordans. I was beat up. Shoes was talking. For people that know what that means, when your shoes is talking,
Yes, the
that
shoes was
means
talking.
you know that's the up north lingo. So when somebody
Yeah,
say your shoes is talking, that means the front part of the flap is like up and down where your
it's
toe is.
going up, and not
Yeah,
the worst part is that sometimes the heel gets loose, and now you got some flip flop type sneakers.
yeah. So you know what I mean? This guy Jordan's was done off, like completely done off. And so my brother like, yo, go over there and tell me like it's Jordans. And like you say, you know, older brother tell you to go do something, you go do it. So I'm like, yo, I like your Jordans. And like he kind of looked over to me. He's like, yo, you trying to be funny? And then like I knew, but I didn't know. I'm like, oh man, okay, that's why he told me to say that. We about to get in there. So then he comes over, and it's like 4 or 5 of them. And it's like me, my brother, and a couple cousins. So this is like old school movie style. And you know what I mean? Like that's what I appreciate about growing up in the 90s. Nowadays, you can't even do this. Everybody wants to shoot and stab. But you know, back then, you know, literally he said, oh, talking to me? Nah, fight me. So, you know, they did a circle, everybody circled up, me and him is in the middle of the circle. And I didn't even really honestly want to fight. And my brother's like, yo, he kind of gave me that look like, yo, fight him. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, we get into it. And, you know, I definitely won, and ever since then, you know what I mean. And I just always I had that itch, like you know, I'm like, after that I felt good. I was walking around with a chip on my shoulder, I'm like, yeah, you know, I just won, boom, my first fight and all of that. But it all started with telling the guy I like his Jordans. I was busted, and you know, growing up in New York, anywhere up north, you from Jersey, you know how it is. Like
Yeah.
people hold their sneakers and their kicks, and when you try to diss them, you know what I mean? That's like talking about somebody's mom, dog. Like, you know, when you
No,
get
yeah,
this in gear, it's no
and
good.
it's something that I spoke to somebody else about, that the sneakers are such um it's such like its own tier in society when it comes to kind of like a ranking in society, and where you are in society, because your sneakers is like the first thing people look at.
Yeah.
Um
But
it's
yeah,
all
no,
good, it's
like you
all
said,
good.
yo, those sneakers, that's real touchy subject.
Definitely is a touchy subject.
You know,
So
you can step on somebody's sneakers out in the club,
no,
and then
never
that
step on somebody's sneakers. No, no,
yeah,
I already
especially if
know
they got
about
on some
that.
all whites,
Some
man.
freshies? Nah, nah, you
Yeah.
can't do that. So your brother wasn't the only one who kind of pushed you into sports and pushed you into putting yourself in positions where you had to challenge yourself and persist and overcome obstacles. Can you tell me how instrumental your mother was to your entire career?
Oh yeah, like bro, my mom, that's by far my biggest fan. You know what I mean? Like that's my road dog. Ever since you know from the beginning, like when I wrestled, you know, she was at every wrestling match, every tournament. you know, sometimes we be driving 2-3 hours out the way for a tournament, you know, and sure enough, she's there. She's following the bus. You know what I mean? I remember this one fond moment. It was my senior year, and I won sectionals to go to states because like in high school, you know, you got counties, then you got sectionals. If you win sectionals, you go to states. So I won the sectional tournament, and I'm getting interviewed by one of this guy, and literally they got the footage out there somewhere. Literally, my mom, she does a cartwheel across the gym, bro. Literally does a cartwheel, and I never seen her do a cartwheel before. I was shocked. She did a cartwheel like across the gym. I was like, woo, woo, that's my son. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's my age, bro. Like every fight, you know, she doesn't miss the fights. You know, she was everywhere I go, bro, in the country, out the country. You know, she's there. So, and you know, just growing up, always just wanting to impress her. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that was just one of my biggest motivations. Whenever whether it's wrestling or fighting, you know what I mean? I know my mom's in the crowd, and I'm like, I don't want to have to go to her beat up or lost or got pinned. You know what I mean? I want to go to her.
You're
Being
scared of
able to
her
hold
more
my
than
head
your
high.
own trainer or your opponent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's mom. That's mom Duke.
yeah, no, for sure, bro, for sure, 100%. You know what I mean? Like I was more disappointed in letting her down than any of my coaches, my teammates, even myself. You know, I just wanted to always be able to go with my head high, like, yeah, mama, you know, I did it, I held it down. So,
What would
you know,
happen when your mom would walk into the gym? Would your trainers also kind of put their tail between their legs and yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am?
no, they were actually because my mom's real cool. So you know, whenever she come in, they'd actually, you know, they liked it because they like you can see the energy shift. You know, when mom is there, now I'm busting sprints 10 times harder. I'm wrestling 10 times harder in live. You know, if anything, my teammates they would hate like, oh shit, his mom's here. Everybody be careful, watch out. He's about to show out. You know.
That's so awesome. So it turns out that before you signed to Bellator, you had a job to make yourself to make sure that you had ends meet. Can you tell me what you liked and what you hated about being a cashier at Walmart?
Yeah, you know, honestly, what I really liked about it was a real humbling experience, and it really
Mm.
put things into perspective for me because as I was working as a cashier at Walmart, I had already graduated college. You know, I had my bachelor's degree in health and human services, where I could like, you know, be a assistant teacher, you know, what I mean, counselor, you know, work in like the SSI programs and things like that. You know what I mean, Social Security offices. But I never wanted to do that. You know, I went to college more because I had a scholarship. You know, I'll tell everybody, I was never an academic guy. You know what I mean? I'm smart, so I always have a fallback plan. But to me, plan B was always reinforcing plan A. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So after I graduated, you know, I knew I was like, you know, what I really want to do is I want to get into fighting. I want to get into fighting. So I was taking these avenues and these lanes to get me into fighting. And, you know, so I'm like, all right, I could find a job, like a regular 9 to 5, a career job. But if I do that, I won't be able to focus on fighting. So I'm like, I gotta make a decision. Do I wanna work a 9 to 5 job, you know what I mean, be secure, have money, and get a paycheck and not be happy, or do I wanna chase my dream? And at this point, so after I graduated, when I was working at Walmart, I actually moved like 2 hours south of Rochester to Ithaca, where Cornell is. And for the first 2-3 months I was living out of my car. And I could have went home
Wow.
to my mom's house, but you know that, like I said, in Rochester there was no MMA gyms. The closest MMA gym was Bomb Squad, which is where John Jones came out of, Aljamain Sterling. We got a bunch of notable guys. Anthony Leone, who was in Bellator. A bunch of notable guys came out of Bomb Squad. So you know, I went up there. And I'm like, you know, so I was like, all right, I could stay at home in Rochester, get a 9 to 5 job, get a career job, or I could go up to Ithaca. I don't know anybody there except for the coach. And you know what I mean? Chase my dream and start that path. You know, so I was like, all right, here's the plan. I was like, I'm gonna work at Walmart as a cashier overnight. I'm working overnight, boom. I could train during the day, and the gym had like a little garage. And I was Ryan Ciatoli. That's like one of the guys I hold a lot of respect for, and he really helped mold my career. But he's the trainer, owner of Bomb Squad. But Ryan C told me, listen, bro, you can sleep in the garage, and we got a couch like in the back. He's like, I know you working there working at night. You know, you come here train. Go ahead and get some rest back there. And I did that, bro, for like 2.5 months, almost 3 months. I worked overnight, went to the gym to train during the day, and in between sessions, I would sleep in this broken leather couch in the back. Saved up enough money to get an apartment. So, you know, the thing I loved about working at Walmart was it just really taught me humility. It really taught me how bad I really wanted this. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, I have this dream. I want to get there. And bro, it took me 5 years. I fought for 5 years, almost 20 professional fights before I got to the UFC, because I didn't do it like the average person. I didn't have a good manager. I was just fighting. I say, you know, eventually they'll notice me, and they did. So, you know what I mean? Working at Walmart, it always would keep me humble, you know, because here I am. I'm like 8-0. I was right before I signed with Bellator, you know what I mean? I was about 10 fights in. I went 9-1 my first year. First year I fought 10 times in 1 year. So then, you know what I mean? I'm working at Walmart, and I'm on the cusp of getting this contract, but I'm still during the daytime, you know, I mean, during the nighttime, I'm working at Walmart, cashiering from like 8 p.m. and then, you know, doing overnight shift and everything. So it just really taught me humility and it just kept my goals in the front of my mind, because, you know, how can I ever be satisfied if I'm still, not to down anybody working at Walmart, but how can I ever be satisfied if I'm still working at Walmart? It kept me hungry. And, you know, the things I didn't like is, you know, I had kids at that time, you know what I mean? So I wasn't making a lot of money to, you know what I mean? I always supported them, but I always wanted to do more for them. I always wanted to do more. I always wanted to see them, but it's like, I had to work, and if I wasn't working, I had to train. So, you know what I mean? It was a hard balance in that, you know? And there was times where I'd be frustrated, you know what I mean? I'd be like, you know, I'm working these shitty hours and I'm training my ass off. And you know what I mean? I got nothing to show for it, you know what I mean? But I always knew eventually it's gonna pay off. So, and it did.
So, what was that moment like when you were able to sign with Bellator? I mean, obviously, you probably thought of all those overnights and sleeping on the couch and your
Bro,
children now. Like, what was that like, man?
bro, it was surreal. It really was. I was just like, because, you know, I was like, you know, I want to go to the UFC, but I'm like, Bellator. I'm like, Bellator's offer. I'm like, you know, at that time, bro, I was like, yo, this is good, because, you know, I could piggyback this. I do good in Bellator, and then, you know, I fight out my contract, I'll get to the UFC. So, you know, when I got that Bellator offer, I was just like, I was in shock kind of, because like I said, I was only 9-1, and I didn't have a big time manager. You know what I mean? I was still getting managed by I think Ryan Ciatoli was still managing me at that time. And he was like, you know, he was more of a gym owner than a manager, you know what I mean? And he's just like, yeah, you know, we got this opportunity for you. You know, this is big. And this when they were doing the tournament. So yeah, you know, they'll put you straight into the tournament. So I'm like, yo, a tournament? You know what I mean? It's where you win the tournament, you get 100 grand. I'm like, bro, I dreamed of 100 grand. I'm like, yo, I'll fight to the death of me for this, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, when I got that opportunity, I really just thank God. You know, I called my mom, you know, I told her, and I was just like, you know, this is finally happening. Like you said, all of those nights working, all of those days sleeping, you know, all those times where I'm taking caffeine pills just to stay awake, it's paying off.
Um, so I want to know, you definitely fought for other promotions, and then you finally debuted for the UFC. Bellator and UFC being probably the bigger ones. What are some of the similarities and differences between how they work as companies in terms of production or organization?
Yeah, so you know, like, I fought for a lot of companies. I fought for a lot of companies, and you know, the main thing with the UFC and Bellator is just the professionalism and the organization with them. You know what I mean? When it comes to booking flights, picking up from the airport, hotel, the venue, everything is like cut A, B, C. You get itinerary. It says this is where you're gonna be at this time, that time, this time. The hotels, top of the line. That's one of my favorite things about fighting with those big promotions is like, you know, the day they put you in these really extravagant, luxurious hotels. You know what I mean? And actually, I would say Bellator, the nicest hotel I've been in. I forget what it was called, but it was in New Mexico. I think somewhere around the New Mexico area with Bellator. and it was like some huge hotel, and they had horseback riding. My mom went and rode on a horse, and it was crazy. But you know, what I mean, like I said, with UFC and Bellator, it's just really the organization, and you know what I mean, the time and effort, and the staff. They have staff members for everything. You literally, you know, you dial a number, and whatever you need, you know, they'll get it for you. So, you know, that's always one of my favorite things about it is, you know, when you go in to fight for one of those organizations, you know that everything is going to be taken care of. If they say at 9 o'clock you're doing this, at 9 o'clock you're doing that, they're saying at 2 o'clock this is happening. You know, it's laid out for you, and it's real smooth. Everything runs smooth.
That's awesome. So I'm curious to know, one thing that I do enjoy when I watch mixed martial arts fights is that there's a mutual respect between fighters. Even though we're about to walk in and beat each other's asses, like there's a mutual respect. So when you're in the fight, is there a part of you that kind of worries about your opponent after a good punch? Or are you more like in the zone, like I don't really care about it right now?
Yeah, no, so it's a little bit of both. You know, you know, you gotta turn that part off. Like part of you, you know, once you hit them with a good punch, you're like, so I actually, in the moment when it's going, you don't, you know, it's just straight kill mode. You know what I mean? You hit them and you going. But both before and after, I actually say a prayer. You know, I'm very religious, and you know, I ask God, my Lord, you know, protect both of us. You know, let neither one of us get hurt and be able to go home to our families, because that's most important. But when I'm in there, it's kill or be killed. You know what I mean? Like I'm going with bad intentions. I'm trying to outstrike. You know, I always think it's either him or me. You know what I mean? You know, either he's gonna beat me or I'm gonna beat him. And I got way too many family and friends watching right now. That's one of my biggest, like,
I got
ev-
mom watching me. I can't
yeah,
know.
bro, everybody will tell you, they'll be like, all right, so like, you know, what do you think he thinks? And they'll tell her, he tells us, he's like, listen, the number one thing I think, and it's worked for me so far, is like, I never want to get knocked out. Cause I'm like, yo, my boys at home, they real ones. If I
They will
get
never
knocked
let
out,
you live the end of
no,
it.
bro.
They'll
They're
never let
like,
you hear
yo,
the end of it.
that nigga knocked you out, bro. Like, yo, you got laid out on TV. How you know, they'll joke on me forever. So, you know, knock on wood, I've never got knocked out before, but it helps motivate me. And, you know, it helps me when I'm in there. Like I said, it's focused. You know what I mean? I'm trying to implement my strategy. And one of my college coaches, Frank Beasley, he used to always tell us, when you wrestle, you got to impose your will, impose your will, impose your will. And I used to get it, but I was a knucklehead in college. But really, after college and when I got into the fighting, I really understood what he was trying to implement in us. Like, you have to impose your will out there, because the minute your opponent sees a weakness or a chink in your armor, he's gonna exploit that. And that's what I do. When I'm out there fighting, even during the face-offs, I try to look my opponent in his eyes. And, like, you know, the eyes never lie. And you can really see way before the fight even starts who's really gonna be about it and who's not. You know what I mean? It's worked for me every time so far. If I look in your eyes and, you know, I see any bit of hesitation, I know when it gets down to the nitty and gritty, when I catch you with a good shot or a good slam, you're gonna fold. Or when I look in the eyes, if I see that fire right back, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be an exciting one tomorrow, because, you know, he's got that fire in his eyes too. You know, you got that fight or flight response, and he's got a fight response. So, you know, when you're in there, you know, I don't really worry about if he gets hurt, or, you know, if there's damage or not, because I'm just trying to go for the finish. I'm trying to get both checks. But, you know, after all of my fights, win or lose, I shake hands with my opponent. You know, I kiss him on the cheek. I tell him, you know, good luck, God bless. I hope everything is good. You know what I mean? But when we're in there from bell to bell, it's kill time.
So an interesting thought comes up when there isn't a lot of action in a boxing fight or even an MMA fight. People call it boring. They'll label it boring, but in most cases, a lot of the fighters are smart enough to not allow themselves to get caught, to dodge the punches and everything. So it's like a game of chess, as a fan speaking, right?
Yeah.
So when they label it boring, what is there to be said about the public kind of being bloodthirsty? Like, no, I want a knockout, I want blood. When in fact, in the art of mixed martial arts, it's actually a good fight because both are smart, dodging things and getting out of moves. What's the difference between calling it boring and just being straight up bloodthirsty?
Yeah, a lot of times, and you see that a lot. Even, you know what I mean, like with fights, I watch a fight, I'm like, yo, that was a beautiful fight. Now go online and everybody's like, oh, it was boring, both guys. But like you said, people don't really know how to admire the beautiful chess match. It's chess. This isn't like, oh, I'm gonna punch you, you punch me, and let's just see who falls. No, like, you know what I mean? There's nothing more beautiful than two guys calculated, striking and wrestling and grappling. And especially a lot of times when people get to wrestling, they say, "Oh, it's boring," but they don't realize how much effort it takes and how much body control it takes to go out there, wrestle a guy, not get submitted, or do things like that. So I think a lot of it is just society and the media, TV. You see these movies, you see these fight scenes in movies where two guys are fighting and both guys get kicked and punched in the head 10, 12 times. When they don't realize realistically, if you get punched or kicked in the head one time that hard, you're gonna be out cold anyway. So that's not even a real fight scene. You know what I mean? And but you know, I don't really get mad at them because you can't be mad at somebody that doesn't know better. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And you get
fair.
these keyboard warriors all the time, but you just kind of gotta just level above it and just like they don't know. You can't fault them for not knowing.
When you talk about the media, it kind of makes me think how you are in a position where a lot of sports analysts, MMA analysts, even the commentators at times, and fans criticize you for certain aspects of your game or certain fights. I was wondering if you had any feelings about sports media. I was wondering if we can flip it. If you have any feelings or criticisms about sports media as a fighter.
Um, no, not really, because a lot of times I kind of just zone them out because I know we're fighters, but it's also an entertainment thing. So sometimes I actually like if it's a really exciting fight that I watch, I'll actually turn the volume all the way down just because I'm like half the time these commentators, they'll talk you out of even what's even going on. You know what I mean? Like some of them clearly have favorites and everything. And, humans have errors, so you know what I mean. I don't really fault them for it. I kind of just it is what it is type of attitude towards that. I think now it's starting to shift. It used to be bad a while ago, but now it's starting to shift where like they're actually getting an understanding of what's going on and everything. But I don't really have too much thought on how they say. I forget who told me, but somebody said opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them and they stink.
They all
So
think, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
um, So, when you talk about kill or be killed and you get in gladiator mode when you go into a fight, I'm wondering what gets you in that mood. So, I'd like to know whether it's like an old Dipset album or Lloyd Banks's Hunger for More. What is it about getting in that mode? And is it true that a cop lets you shoot guns to get amped up before a fight?
Yeah, bro. So this is a true story, and I can't get them in trouble because it's in Chechnya anyway. We're in Chechnya. If you don't know where Chechnya is, it's a small republic in Russia. So they're on their own type of time. But I went out to Chechnya, bro. That was probably the best pre-fight like warm up and motivation I've ever gotten. So I'm in Chechnya and I was fighting, and one of my friends had linked me with one of his friends that was from there, and he's like his friend like, hey, listen, the day before the fight, he's like, hey, you want to go out shooting? It's a nice little way to get your blood going, to adrenaline dump. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? You know what I mean? So we went out there. And he was a cop. His friend was a cop, and I've never seen it before. It was like a modified AK-47, and so it was like
Jesus.
short. It was like the size of a sawed-off shotgun, but it was an AK-47 still modified. And he's like, yeah, So I've never shot an automatic gun before. So it's funny. The first time I went out there with Michael Johnson, and he's a fan of guns. He's got a lot of guns. He shoots them at target ranges and everything. So he laughed at me because he's like, I knew that was gonna happen to you. So the first time I tried to shoot the gun, I knew it was automatic, but I wasn't really realizing. So I pressed it and I held my finger down and I almost fell backwards because the kickback was so hard. It was like boop, boop, boop. And I ended up I aimed straight, but by like the fifth shot, I ended up like shooting towards the air. And he's like, you got to set your feet and you got to lean forward when you do it to prepare for the kickback. Because before that, the only thing I've ever shot was a 9 in the Beretta that my dad had at shooting range. So I never shot anything really stronger than that. So, shooting that AK was pretty dope. And then he had a Mossberg shotgun that we shot too. And we were like up in the mountains, bro. It was beautiful because like we're up in the mountains and it was just like 1,000 yards, just clear space. You know what I mean? So we went out there and we shot some guns and it worked because I ended up getting the first round finish on the guy the next day. But yeah, that was a pretty cool moment, man.
That's so dope. You mentioned earlier that because it kind of piqued my interest. You mentioned earlier that you're a fan of WWE. Do you still watch it?
Yeah, I still watch it. Not as avid as I used to, but
Right.
I still love it. Like if I'm ever flipping or it's on, you know what I mean? I watch it. I'm actually trying to get my kids into it now.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's just good parenting. That's what that is. Even my 12-year-old
100%.
daughter, like
100%.
she's into that. No, because
I
I've been
actually,
obsessed with
bro.
it all my life. What's up?
So I was in the airport. I was probably like 14 or 15 years old, and I got Hulk Hogan's autograph, and it was
Get
crazy
out of here.
because the way So we we're in the airport, and so my dad works at the airport. Well, he worked at the airport. He retired from it, so like, he knows the ins and outs of all like airports and how they function. So Hulk Hogan was like running through the airport like with security, and I'm talking like hundreds of people was following him. And we were running too, so I can get autographs. So then he ducks over into this room, goes in with the security, closes the door. And everybody, they thought he was leaving. So everybody started walking away. And I'm like, man, we missed him. And my dad was like, no, just wait here. He's like, I'm like, wow, everybody's leaving. He probably went through that room and was getting privately escorted. He's like, no, the room he just went into is a control room. There's no exit. You know what I mean? So we waited like 45 minutes. Slowly but surely, everybody left, bro. Literally everybody left. And they were probably looking at the cameras waiting. So about 45 minutes passed, and I don't know, I was probably like 12, 13 maybe. Maybe not, I was probably younger, like 10 or 11. And I'm discouraged. I'm not trusting my dad. I'm like, nah, man, he left. I didn't get the chance to get his autograph. And sure enough, bro, the door cracks open, and I'm still standing there. And I remember like yesterday, he goes, hey, you're smart, brother. You ended up staying, huh? And he gave me an autograph. And I was so happy, bro. I was pumped. I was amped. I'm like, I just got an autograph from Hulk Hogan. That was surreal, bro.
So So in freestyle wrestling, there have been a lot of men who've transitioned onto the professional wrestling world. Kurt Angle, Jake Hager, Jason Jordan, Danny Hodge. I'm curious to know if in the professional wrestling world, if you ever saw somebody that you tell yourself, man, he would actually be good in the freestyle wrestling world.
Who I always thought would be good is what's in there, Eddie Guerrero. You remember Eddie Guerrero?
Wow, yeah, I remember
Because
Eddie Guerrero.
he was just like an athlete to me. You know what I mean? Like the way he would jump off of the ropes, and like he had a crazy build. He was quick, fast, flashy kicks and everything. I always thought I'm like, I used to love Eddie Guerrero. I always thought I'm like, he could probably whoop ass in the street if it really came down to it. I swear, I'm like, I should why I'm like, he's definitely whooped ass a couple of times.
There's a funny story online that he was just worked up and he was frustrated and he actually challenged Kurt Angle in the back. And Kurt's like, Eddie, chill, like we're not gonna do this. He goes, no, no, and he started pushing him, and they like, hey, we're gonna go. Kurt's like, all right, fine, you want to go? Let's go. And Kurt just took care of him like this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
do you remember JBL? Remember JBL?
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
was the one. He tells the story, and he's like, I went up to Eddie, and I'm like, why would you think you can outdo an Olympic wrestler? And
yeah.
Eddie's like, because I'm an idiot. That's why.
Yeah, and like that's vintage Eddie Guerrero for you, bro. Vintage Eddie Guerrero. Kurt Angle's a beast, bro. He was always one of my favorites, especially him being an Olympic wrestler, transitioning in. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the goats. So yeah, that's pretty insane.
So I read it. I know you said you got your degree in health and human services, but I read you also went to school for social sciences, which is
Yeah.
like kind of studying the way society is. How did that help you when it came to like training with a bunch of dudes, training in a team? What did that do in the education there in that field? How did that help you with this?
Um, Really, it kind of just helped me just learn how to navigate. I mean, honestly, bro, training, MMA, doing wrestling, sports in general, you deal with so many different types of personalities, attitudes, coaches, cultures, and everything. So it really just helped me have a broad aspect of, you know, just how different people think, how they act, and just really have a mental mindset where of understanding, you know, never judging. You know what I mean? That's one of the major things. You know what I mean? That's just how you get by in the world in general. You just, you know, a lot of people they act certain ways not because they want to, but just because they have a lack of knowledge and they're not open. They're not open minded enough to, you know what I mean, step outside of their box. So that's what it really helped me do. It, you know, studying those things, it really helped me step outside of the box that I'm in and be able to put myself in other people's shoes.
That's dope. Yeah, I always thought like having an education in that kind of field would definitely help you with the real world, not only as a career. Um, so I'd like to know when you start. I know that you were wrestling in high school, but I feel like when you started doing MMA, it's a kind of different level because it's getting like to the professional level where everything got more serious. So I'd like to know about like your diet regimen. What was like some things you didn't think was like good, but I had to eat. I'm just curious when you're going to Nick Tahoe getting garbage plates, what kind of diet regimen and how difficult was it for you to switch all that up?
Oh, bro. Well, and all of my teammates will attest to this. They swear I'm an alien. You know, I blame it on good genetics and hard work. But bro, I eat like my diet. If I told you what I ate every day, you know what I mean? Like you'd be like, yo, there's no way you eat that and you
No,
have the
because you're
type
in
of
great
body.
shape. You're in amazing shape.
Yeah, and honestly, bro, I eat bacon, I eat pork, I eat fries, pizza. Like when I first moved down here, I lived in a fighter house, and you know they say, yo, bro, how do you eat bacon every morning and you still have a six pack and you go to practice for 3 hours and you know still whoop ass and I like, bro, I don't, I you know the body is amazing. It adapts and it gets used to a certain regimen and it can really, you know what I mean, work on that. So, you know, I work with nutritionists and I did like a 6, 7 week nutrition program. And I feel the same as if I didn't, if I eat whatever I want. So I actually kind of
You're like
gave
this
up.
didn't do anything.
Yeah, I actually kind of gave up on that. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm like, I actually have more energy when I'm eating and doing what I want. You know what I mean? And I watch Ocho Cinco. You know, is the podcast they have with him and Brandon Marshall and those guys.
Yeah,
He,
right.
he Ocho Cinco always says that no, you eat what you want. That I'm like, you know, me and this guy, we must be related somewhere down the line because that's the same type of thought I have. You know, you eat what you want, you do what you want, and as long as you work out everything will be zeroed out better. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't really go on any like crazy diet changes or regimens or anything.
So
I just
I need to know
maintain.
because I saw I saw the name Nick Tahoe and I saw the word garbage plates and I tried to look it up but I couldn't find it. What is a garbage plate?
So a garbage plate, you know that and you know it's made in Rochester, New York. But a garbage plate is basically like a plate that you know would look like you just got all of this stuff out of the garbage and put it on a plate. So you know it usually it starts with like a ground beef. So you have like a burger patty. Maybe you have like
Okay.
two burger patties on top of each other. Then you'll throw some fries in there, some coleslaw on the side. You know, maybe some beans, and then you put like ketchup and mustard, and then maybe a little extra other sauce on top of it and you just mix it up. Or it's all kind of just mixed in there together, and it just creates a really beautiful flavor. You know, and it's like
Beautiful
you
flavor.
have everything all mixed in there together. And yeah, I remember, bro, we used to get garbage plates all the time in high school after our wrestling tournaments. You know what I mean? Like, especially us wrestlers, you know, you got to cut that weight. Then you go to the tournament, you don't got to weigh in no more. And after you're done, you know what I mean? That Sunday, you just
Oh
want
no,
to
yeah,
pig
you're
out.
good to go. Like you made weight already. Is it true that you
Yeah.
made weight from cutting your hair once?
Yeah, it's true, bro. So
Jesus, really?
one one time, my hair was like a little bit longer than it is now, and I was fighting. This is when I used to fight at 145, and this is like one of the last times I went 145 because the weight cut just kind of got too much for me, and so I went. I weighed in. I was like 147 and some change, and like the weight was not coming off, and this when I was living in Montreal for a year, and Faraz Zahabi, you know, he was like, "Listen, bro, you're gonna have to cut your hair if you want to make this weight." And I'm like, He's like, "No," he's like, "Trust me." He's like, I'm like, I really want to do this for a world title. And my manager was telling me like, "You just win this fight, we could probably get you into the UFC." So I'm like, that's just dreams, and just another sacrifice I got to make. So yeah, I went and cut my hair, and I lost like 2 pounds, and I ended up making weight. But had I not cut my hair, bro, I wouldn't be able to make weight because my body was like sucked dry. But yeah, I cut the hair, made the weight for that.
That's nuts, bro. So I saw there are a lot of videos online about a fight that you had in Rochester, and your mom screaming from behind the media box. And can you just tell me how important that night was to you? Like going back home, part of the UFC, having a fight and getting that win.
Bro, honestly, to this day, that was like one of the most surreal moments because let me tell you, so where the fight was, it was at the Blue Cross Arena. That's where all of the major sports teams play. That's where anytime a major artist comes in and does a concert, it's at the Blue Cross Arena. Like growing up if you're an athlete in Rochester, the biggest dream you could ever have is rocking out at the War Memorial. You know what I mean? It's like the biggest attraction we have as far as entertainment. And it was actually so leading up to the fight, like a month before the fight, because all right, the fight was in May. I had just fought in March. I got a first round finish. You know what I mean? I'm thinking I'm on top of the game. Everything is good. And you know what I mean? And then, they're like, listen, right before the fight, I didn't literally, this is crazy, bro. So at the fight in May in Philly, I'm in the hotel room laying down watching TV, and then I see an advertisement, UFC coming to Rochester. Now this is in March. May 15th, May 15th or something like that. UFC coming to Rochester. So this is like 2 days before my May fight. So I'm like, March. I mean, this is 2 days before the fight that I had in March. So like May. So I get on the phone, I call my manager. I'm like, bro, you knew the UFC was coming to Rochester in May? He's like, no, I'm just finding this out. I'm like, bro, that's my hometown. I'm like, yo, I have to get on that card. I have to. He's like, listen, if you get a first round finish, you know what I mean? If we get you on that card, you know what I mean? You take no damage, So this is 2 days before the fight. So I'm already going out to my fight. I'm amped. I'm like, I'm not trying to look ahead, but I'm like, I need to get this finish. I need to kill this guy so I could get on the mic and scream, put me on the Rochester card. So long story short, boom, I fight Ross Pearson. I finish him first round. You know what I mean? I was happy. I'm like, yeah, all right. I called him. I'm like, listen, bro, I did my part. You know what I mean? Get me on that card. So then the next week he calls me. He's like, bro, I'm sorry. I did everything I could. I can't get you on the card. You know what I mean? We tried. They said they got the card all booked up. And I'm like, bro, this is my hometown. I'm like, bro, it's agent that knows me. He's like, listen, I called. There's nothing I can do. The matchmaker said, it's full. So, I'm bummed about it. I even put out a statement because everybody's like, listen, are you gonna be on that card? I'm like, no, I'm not. So I even put out a statement online. I'm like, listen, guys, I'm sorry. I tried to get on the Rochester card. They said it was full. About a month before the fight, so about April, my manager calls me. He's like, yeah, it was Abe Kawa with first round management. He's like, who's the fucking man? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, who's the fucking man? I'm like, no, you didn't, bro. Don't play with my emotions. He's like, yo, I got you on that card, Bro, I'm amped. I'm like, yo, what? This is crazy. Like, dream come true. You know what I mean? So I'm on Instagram like, oh, bro, I'm on the card, guys. Go flood the box office, get your tickets, and like, bro, like in no time, you know what I mean? I'm having like hundreds of people hitting me up, sending me screenshots. Bro, I bought 15 tickets. I bought 20 tickets. It's like really cash out
Damn.
there. I got my coach from high school calling. And listen, bro, we got a private box, 30 people. My mom's like, oh, we getting a box too. You know, the boxes they hold like 30 people, 30 to 40 people. So my other coach from college calls me, yo, bro, we're getting a box. So like, you know what I mean? I'm having easily over like 500 to 1,000 people there. You know what I mean? So I'm just amped up, bro. And I'm just like, yo, it's crazy. And I remember my boy Anthony Johnson, Rumble, he told me, he's like, listen, I know you're excited. And Rashad Evans, they both told me, they said, listen, be careful fighting in your hometown. You don't want your nerves to get too far ahead of you. There's nothing more nerve-wracking. I know you, I'm like, bro, I got 30 fights. Like, I know you got 30 fights and all of this, but when you fight in your hometown, it's a different type of feeling. So I'm like, oh no, bro, I'm in. So you know what I mean? That was just a dream come true. Now let me tell you, bro, out of all of my fights, and I'm glad that I won, but bro, I thought I had everything handled, but the minute I walked out and I heard the roar from the crowd, I almost got shook. I'm like, oh shit, like damn, all
This
these
is
people are
real.
here for me. Like shit got real. And I'm like, but I thank God for my teammates, bro, because I was able to go back and home in on what they said, and I'm like, all right, listen, they told me this is gonna happen. Just relax, breathe in, take it on in, act like you just in the gym, sparring just another day, you know what I mean? Just, don't put too much weight on it. And I was able to kind of bring my emotions and my feelings down. But, you know, yeah, I tell anybody now, I tell other people now, the younger fighters, when you fight in your hometown, you really gotta take all of the emotions and aspects out of it because it's a bit overwhelming. You know what I mean? But it was a dream come true, bro. Like, and right now I'm going through these things, this legal case, and I haven't been able to fight, with the UFC since 2019. But, I just thank God and I'm blessed that my last fight with them, and it won't be my last. So I'm going to get back there. But my most recent memory was rocking the Blue Cross Arena in my hometown. And, I'll forever be grateful for that. Like forever, that'll be one of the best moments of my life. And just having all my family and friends there, like it was just amazing. My pastor even came to the fight. You know what I
Your
mean?
pastor went.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's such a great
Like,
story.
bro, when I tell you I had the whole city out, I had the whole city out,
That's like
bro.
the priest that showed up at Rocky 5 on the street fight and he
Yeah,
did his
bro, it was
cross.
funny. One of my boys, I can tell the story now because he's off the tapers. But one of my boys, he's on house arrest. And, he had just got out of jail. He's got a couple of felonies, so they had him on house arrest. He's like, man, I asked my parole officer if I could go to the fight, but they said no. I'm like, bro, sorry, I know you're there in person, bro. The day after the fight, he sends me a video. This dude is in the stands. I'm like, yo, you're
What
crazy.
the
Like,
hell? He's trying to get in
I couldn't
trouble,
miss
bro.
it. I
See,
couldn't
that's
miss it,
support.
dog.
That's real love.
Yo, bro, I'm like, yo, I'm glad luckily, I don't know how he finessed, but he didn't get in trouble for it. But I'm like, bro, you crazy, dog. You crazy. But yeah,
What
but
what
that,
song
that was
what
that
song
was an
did you use
amazing
when
experience.
you went out?
Well,
What song did you use when you went out?
so it was a mix. It was that, and then it was Mike Tyson's speech, where it's like, I'm the best ever. I'm the most ruthless and the most incredible champion it's
Yeah,
ever
I
been.
remember that speech. Yeah.
And then it went into the future last breath from Creed. So you know what I mean? Like that bro, that song, that's my favorite song. I came out to that song probably like my last 5, 6 fights. But yeah, bro, that it was amp, man. It was amp.
That's so awesome. Everybody dreams of doing something in their hometown in the big arena in front of their
Bro.
family and friends. You
Bro, to this day, people still hit me up like, yo, bro, you coming to the Blue Cross was just the craziest thing ever. Like, yo, you're forever goated. You're a legend. You know what I mean? It was great. It was great.
you mentioned some legal issues that are around, but we won't get in touch with that. It's more about. I would like to ask you, what are your feelings on the public's fascination with mistakes done by somebody in the public eye? Like, why is it more sensationalized, do you feel, when somebody who's a public figure makes a mistake?
Yeah, I think it's true. Like I said, whenever a public figure gets in trouble, it's always highlighted and multiplied 10 times more. And You know, I think a big reason is just because, like Scarface said it, everybody needs a bad guy. You know, it makes everybody else feel a little bit that much more comfortable about, their life and their mistakes if they can point the finger and say, oh yeah, but this guy did that. Because oftentimes, like, celebrities and stars, they're kind of looked at on a pedestal, and people think that their lives are perfect and they don't have anything wrong and they got everything figured out, when really, they're just the same as the average person, except for, the only thing that separates them is money. And money really isn't the end all be all. So, like Tony Montana said, everybody likes to point at the bad guy so they can feel a bit more comfortable. And it is what it is. It's just like the same reason why people love to watch the news. The news only reports 90% of the news is just about reporting bad things, horrible things. You know what I mean? You never see like, oh, update in 20 minutes. This guy, is going to college, got a scholarship for this. It's always about something negative. And just people like to hear negative things. I think it just helps them, makes them feel better about what they got going on their own. And you know what I mean? It's a form of entertainment for them. You know what I mean? Like, I like to watch scary movies. I like to see slashers and people, you know what I mean, getting killed in Jason movies and everything. Not to say that I want to see somebody get killed, but it's entertaining to watch, Freddy or Jason movie or the Candyman. I don't want that in real life. I'd be scared as shit if somebody came out the mirror and stabbed me. So, it's just the way that people use it for their form of entertainment. I try not to judge them too much on it, because at the end of the day, everybody has their own skeletons, and no sin is greater than the other. So kind of just got to roll with the punches on that one.
You were with the UFC for about 3 or 4 years. Can you tell me about your relationship with Dana White? I mean, he's grown UFC to be this huge, amazing, like huge organization. Sold it, still running it. Became a huge pay-per-view monster. What was your relationship like with Dana White?
Oh man, bro, Dana is really cool. You know what I mean? The public's perception of him is not what is real. You know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, a lot of people, fighters included, especially, for some reason they tend to think that Dana is like our equal, or like Dana is, you know what I mean, like a friend. He's a friend, but they try to act like he's not our boss. You know what I mean? Hey, if you're working a 9 to 5, you can't just stroll into your boss's office and start making demands, or you know what I mean. Say you're working at at some corporation and you got an issue and you want more pay. You can't just get on Twitter and say, "Oh, I think that my boss should give me more pay for this." It doesn't work like that. And it's the same thing with Dana. You know what I mean? If you got an issue with him, his office is always open. You can literally at any time set up a meeting with him. You know what I mean? He'll listen and go set one up. And behind closed doors, you can get a lot further than you will with him if you just go ahead and try to call him out and try to play who has the bigger nuts. You know what I mean? Because he's gonna win every time. You know what I mean? He's our boss. So my relationship with Dan is really cool. I met him a few times, and he was one of the reasons why I got signed with the UFC, because my late manager, Glenn Robinson, RIP to him, he was good friends with Dana. And we showed him a highlight tape, and they had a fight in Buffalo, and we're like, listen, this guy went to college there. You're always looking for, you know what I mean, town relatable guys. What better guy to put on the card than the guy that went to college in Buffalo? And so that's how I got my first shot. I ended up beating Josh Emmett, who's killing it right now. He's like top 10. He's like top 10. Josh Emmett, he's top 10 right now in the UFC at featherweight. So that was my first fight with him, and it went really. My first encounter with him was him looking at my highlight tape, saying, "Okay, yeah, we'll give this guy a chance." And even throughout after, like with my whole legal situation, like they understand what's going on and the dynamics of it, which is why they didn't make a big blowout deal of it. And they just simply told me, listen, once you get it all figured out, we'd be more than happy to fight you. Until then, we can't, which is understandable. But Dan is a fair guy. I tell everybody, he's a super fair guy. If you go and try to play, if you're going to try to call his bluff and play who's got bigger balls and call him out online, you know, he's a guy, he's prideful. I mean, and he has every right to be prideful. He built UFC from scratch. So if you try to go and call him out, of course you're going to lose that battle. But if you was to put him behind the scenes, right, hey, listen, Dana, let me talk to you. I have an issue about this. He'll work it out with you. He'll try to come to some type of common ground with you. So I think he's a really cool guy.
That's awesome. So what can we're about to wrap it up in a little bit, but Mr. Green, Desmond Green, the Predator, Desmond Green, what can we expect from the future of your fighting career?
So right now, you know, I'm venturing into this bare knuckle league. I just had a fight last month with bare knuckle in Miami. Got a first round knockout. It was really interesting. It's crazy to fight bare knuckle, man. Like, you know, with MMA, UFC, we already have the 4-ounce gloves, and that's almost no padding. But bare knuckle, it's just straight raw, and it's exciting. And I got another fight with them coming up in December, and you know, hopefully going into the new year, the case will be resolved, and as soon as it is, I'll be back with the UFC. So you'll probably see me in 1 or 2 more bare knuckle fights, and then I'll be back. I'll be back chasing that gold at lightweight.
Well, we're gonna be rooting for you, man. I appreciate your time. I just got a couple more questions. I learned that you're a big fan of a certain show. So if you were to model your gear toward a Dragon Ball Z character, which character would it be?
Oh, 100% Goku, man. Like Goku is a guy.
You gotta use
Goku
that
is
for
that
your UFC
guy.
return.
Goku is that guy, bro. Goku is a man. Like I've actually thought about you know what I mean? We can't because UFC, you know, they control our stuff. But if we could walk out in our own gear, we'll 100% come out in a Goku orange robe with the whole little get up on. Like, and I actually think that might make me fight better because I think I'm going Super Saiyan in there or something.
Hell yeah. One thing I wanted to learn because I asked you about your music earlier. What's the strongest, or excuse me, what is the strangest song on your playlist that somebody would not expect you to have?
Uh, you know, my playlist is pretty cut and dry. You know, I like that gangster rap, that New York rap. Like in my locker room before the fight, you know, I'm banging DMX, I'm banging Rough Riders, Jadakiss, Jay-Z, all that Tupac. But you know, when people are surprised, I'm a Christian guy, so I got a couple Christian R&B songs from you know, from some R&B ladies on there that, you know, that probably be the biggest surprise. Other than that, it's rap, and it's crazy because like I got DMX. I'll be listening to DMX 1 minute, next minute I'm listening to some Praise God by Mary Mary or something like that.
Desmond, where can they find you on social media, man?
So Instagram is Predator Tune, PREDATORTOON. That's our Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook just Desmond Green.
Awesome. This is Desmond Green, UFC making his return, hopefully next year. You can check all the links in the description to follow him and catch up on him. This is D. You can find me at DNC Digital on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Everybody have a good night and take care of yourselves.
See you, bro. See you guys.